Welcome to the EcoTechie. In today's video, we are going to learn about a new concept which is very close to support vector machine, which goes by the name kernel. Now you all will be wondering what exactly is this kernel. So let's deep dive into kernel and the mechanisms behind kernel. So, a kernel function is a method used to transform the input data into the required form for processing the data. Now, you won't be understanding what exactly it is doing. Slowly, I'll explain the functionality of kernel. Now, there are different types of kernel. There is a Gaussian kernel. There is a Gaussian kernel radial basis function, which is most widely used. There is a sigmoid kernel. There is polynomial kernel, and so on and so forth. Now, let us understand where exactly this kernel function is used. So, in my previous video, I have explained the concept of SVM. So, the main idea behind SVM is to build a hyperplane in such a way that the error margin is as wide as possible. Now, when your data is of this form, you can actually make a line which divides the two data points. But in real life scenario, barely do we get data which is linearly separable. Mostly our data is non-linearly separable. There comes the kernel, which helps us to deal with this problem of converting something which is not separable using a line can be converted into a plane. Now, let us see how exactly this happens. Consider a figure something like this. It's a three-dimensional figure. You have your height, you have your width, you have your breadth. And if you take an image of this from the top, say you take an image using your phone, what exactly do you get? You get something like this. You have a yellow dot and a blue dot. That's what you see. Now consider this to be your data points. So you have your yellow data point and you have your blue data point. Do you think you can differentiate the yellow from the blue by just using a line? No. So what will you do? Now this is a tough scenario. SVM is trying to build a hyperplane in such a way that it separates the yellow from the blue. How will you do it? You use the kernel function. Now, it was initially a three-dimensional figure, and most of our analysis is done in a two-dimensional space. Your scatter plot is 2D, your bar graph is 2D, you name it, and most of the graphs are 2D in nature. That is why we convert it into 2D. But when we convert it into 2D, we understand that, oh, this is not linearly separable anymore. So now we use the kernel function. Now what does the kernel do? The kernel will transform your data from 2D to 3D. That is what a kernel function does, transforming your data so that you can build the hyperplane. So how does it do that? So now you have it in the 3D space. Now you have your height, you have your breadth, and you have your width. Now using a hyperplane, you are able to separate the yellow dot and the blue dot. This is done with the help of kernel. So this is a non-linearly separable data which is being separated using a hyperplane with the help of a kernel. So when we have 2D data, our hyperplane is a line, and when we have a 3D data, over here you have 3 dimensions. So your hyperplane becomes a plane. And using a kernel, we converted our data points from 2D to 3D. I hope the working of kernel and what exactly the kernel does is clear for one and all. Do like, share and subscribe to the EcoTechie. If you have any queries, please feel free to post it in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.